Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Excited for this one.
Me too. This time we're going to be looking at Mullen Automotive, a company that's making some noise in the EV space.
Yeah, you might be thinking about investing in Mullen.
Possibly. And if so,
We are here.
we're here to equip you to make a good decision.
That's right. We've got a ton of articles, financial reports, and analyst opinions on Mullen.
A whole stack of them.
That's right. So we are going to be going through all that stuff today to give you a clear picture of Mullen's potential.
The challenges they face. And
everything in between.
Everything in between. And make sure you stick around to the end.
Because we're gonna.
Because we've got an interesting fact about how Mullen's been raising capital.
Oh, yeah, that you're not going to want to miss.
That you are not going to want to miss.
Yeah.
So to get started,
Yeah,
what does Mullen Automotive actually do?
Right. They design and manufacture electric vehicles.
Okay.
But they are focused on commercial vehicles.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
not the Teslas of the world.
Got it. So delivery vans, trucks.
Think delivery vans, trucks, things like that.
Okay. And so their main revenue model is?
Selling those vehicles to businesses.
Okay.
Governments.
Government fleets.
For sure. So they're really targeting those businesses and agencies that are trying to electrify their fleets.
Okay. Interesting. So they're going after a pretty specific niche.
Yeah, definitely niche.
Where do they stand in the overall EV landscape?
So right now they're considered a micro-cap company.
Micro-cap?
Meaning their market capitalization is pretty small.
Okay.
Compared to
like the big guys.
Ford, GM,
Tesla, all those guys.
So they're a small fish.
Yeah.
We're in a very big pond.
But they do have a couple of things going for them.
Okay.
Like one, they own 2 assembly plants here in the U.S.
Wow.
Which is pretty significant.
2?
That's a big asset when it comes to scaling up production.
Yeah, for a company their size, that is impressive.
It is.
So speaking of size, let's talk about their CEO.
Yeah.
David Mishry. Who is he? So he's known for having an aggressive expansion strategy and let's just say, a colorful communication style.
Colorful.
Okay.
I'm intrigued.
I think a lot of people are.
Does he have a track record of success in the automotive world?
That's where things get a little interesting. He's led a number of companies, but unfortunately, a lot of those ventures didn't end so well.
Okay.
We're talking bankruptcies.
Oh, wow.
Stock delistings.
Not a great track record.
Not the best.
So how has he kind of addressed those past failures?
He tends to downplay them
Okay.
and focus more on the successes.
Sure.
But a lot of investors are definitely wary
Yeah.
of his tendency to overpromise and underdeliver.
So there's some skepticism about his leadership.
For sure.
Okay. But he has kept Mullen afloat so far.
He has.
What kind of moves has he made?
Well, one of the big things he did was shift the company's focus away from those consumer vehicles
Okay.
to concentrate more on the commercial EV market.
Interesting.
He also made some significant cost-cutting measures,
Okay.
including like workforce reductions.
Tough, but necessary.
Yeah. They're really trying to streamline things.
It sounds like it. So let's get to the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Their financial health?
Yeah.
Are they on solid ground or?
So their financial situation right now is a little precarious, to be honest.
Right.
They have a market cap of about $4.3 million.
Wow.
Which is tiny.
That's tiny.
And it reflects a lot of the market uncertainty about their future.
What about revenue? Are they selling vehicles?
They are,
Okay.
but their revenue is extremely low.
Still
Very low,
Right.
even though they did see a pretty big percentage increase recently.
Please.
It's important to note that it's
Yeah.
coming from a very small base.
Okay, so it's a big percentage,
Right.
but a very small number.
Exactly.
What about profitability?
Mhm.
Are they making any money on the vehicles that they are selling?
So unfortunately, no, their profit margins are actually negative.
What does that mean?
It means they're losing money.
On each
They'll
vehicle?
go on each sale. Yeah, so investors are really just betting on their future potential rather than their current earnings.
So a lot of hope
Yeah,
baked into that stock
just
price.
a lot of hope.
Is there any good news on the financial front?
Well, they do have a backlog of vehicles that haven't been recognized as revenue yet. So there is potential for a revenue jump in the near future.
That's good.
And they've also been working hard to control those costs with those workforce reductions we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So, they cut their staff by 20% to try to make things more efficient.
So they are trying
They are trying.
to improve their financial standing.
Definitely.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into what the market thinks of Mullen's prospects and who actually owns the company, and we'll wrap it all up with a full risk assessment.
Yeah, we'll be back.
We'll be right back.
All right, so let's talk about what the market thinks about Mullen.
Yeah. How are investors feeling about this company?
Well, if we look at the stock price, over the past year,
It's been rough.
it has not been pretty.
Not a Wall Street darling.
No, not at the moment. In fact, a lot of people are calling it a penny stock or even a meme stock.
Oh, wow.
It attracts retail investors,
Okay.
but not many institutional investors.
Why is that?
Well, I think it's a few things.
Yeah.
The low price is certainly one,
Right.
but it's
Yeah.
also the volatility and
Okay.
that speculative nature of their business.
So it's a bit of a gamble then.
Yeah, I think you could say that.
But didn't their stock jump like 70% recently?
It did.
That's huge.
Yeah, that was a wild day.
What caused that?
So there was some good news, a new partnership to sell to government agencies.
Oh, wow.
But it was also amplified by a recent reverse stock split.
Reverse stock split. I don't even know that that is.
So basically, they reduced the number of shares,
Okay.
which increases the price per share,
Okay.
but the company's value stays the same.
So like taking a pizza and instead of 10 slices, it's now 5 bigger slices.
Perfect analogy.
Still the same amount of pizza.
Right.
Just looks different.
Yeah, and sometimes that attracts those short-term traders
Yeah.
looking to capitalize on volatility.
So was that surge a sign of a turnaround, or was it just kind of a temporary blip?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Something investors need to think about.
Yeah. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about ownership structure.
All right.
Who owns this company?
So you're going to be surprised by this.
Okay.
Institutional ownership is super low,
Okay.
only 0.6%.
That's crazy low.
It's really unusual.
Is that a bad sign?
Well, it suggests that those big investors
Yeah.
aren't too keen on Mullen.
Okay, so if it's not the institutions who's holding the stock, then
So most of the shareholders are
Okay.
retail investors.
like regular people like us.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And that can contribute to more volatility
Interesting.
because, retail investors are more influenced by news
Makes sense.
and social media sentiment.
Okay, so we've got a company with high retail ownership,
Mm-hmm.
very few institutions.
Yep.
What about the insiders? Are they buying or selling?
So another interesting point here.
Okay.
David Michery, the CEO,
Yeah.
he's been selling a lot of shares.
Not a good sign.
Not necessarily.
Why would he do that?
Could be lots of reasons,
Yeah.
but it's something that investors should watch
Right.
because it could mean he doesn't have a ton of faith in the company.
Okay, what about other insiders?
Well, we haven't seen much insider buying,
Sure.
which, some might interpret that as a lack of confidence.
All right, so let's try to take a balanced view here.
Yeah.
We've talked about some positives,
Sure.
some negatives.
Definitely.
To get a clearer picture, let's do a SWOT analysis.
Okay.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Sounds good.
Okay, so strengths.
Strength, one of their big strengths is being a first mover
Yeah.
in that commercial EV market.
Okay.
Like you said, they're targeting that niche.
You're trying to carve out a space
Exactly.
where they can be the leader.
And they've got those 2 U.S. plants,
Right.
which gives them more control.
Overproduction.
Exactly.
They're not relying on someone else.
Right.
Okay, cool. What else?
They've got a pretty diverse product portfolio,
Oh, good.
which is nice. And they're aligned with all those government incentives for EVs, which
I see.
makes them more attractive to buyers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the good stuff.
Uh-huh.
What about the not so good stuff?
The weaknesses.
The weaknesses.
Okay, so their financial health is definitely a concern.
Right.
They're losing money.
Yeah.
They rely a lot on external funding.
Which leads to dilution.
Yeah, which is a big concern for a lot of investors.
Yeah.
And then there's their track record
Right.
and the questions about the management.
So some big weaknesses there.
There are. Yeah.
Opportunities.
Yeah.
What could they capitalize on?
So the biggest opportunity is the growth of the EV market.
Yeah.
If they can land those big fleet deals
Okay.
and some government contracts,
That would be huge.
that would be a game changer.
What about partnerships?
Oh, yeah. They could partner with some of the big players
Right.
in the industry.
That could give them a boost.
For sure.
Cool. Okay. And
Yeah.
then finally, threats.
Okay, threats. So bankruptcy is a real risk
Wow.
because of their finances.
Yeah,
And then there's always the risk of production delays,
of course.
competition.
Right.
That's a big one.
Huge.
And the economy could always take a downturn.
Yeah, always a possibility.
That's always looming out there.
So it sounds like Mullen is at a crossroads.
Yeah,
They've got some big challenges,
for sure.
but also some interesting opportunities.
Definitely things could go either way.
Well, we've covered a lot today,
We have.
but we still haven't talked about that intriguing detail about how they've been raising capital.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We'll get to that and wrap things up in the next part.
Stick around. Welcome back to our deep dive on Mullen Automotive. We've covered a lot of ground already, but now it's time for that intriguing detail we promised you about how they've been raising capital.
Right. So we talked about their business model, their financials, the market sentiment. Now let's look at how they've been funding their operations.
Yeah, because it hasn't been the smoothest ride.
Definitely not. Instead of relying on traditional methods like debt financing,
Okay.
Mullen has been issuing new shares of stock.
So instead of taking out loans...
They create more shares,
Interesting.
and they've been doing this a lot.
Oh, wow. So what does that mean for investors who already own stock?
Well, it leads to dilution.
Right, we talked about that.
Each time they issue new shares, existing shareholders own a smaller piece of the company.
Yeah, that doesn't sound ideal.
It can be frustrating for investors because it can diminish the value of their holdings.
So why would Mullen choose this method?
It's not uncommon for startups or companies that have limited access to traditional funding.
Okay.
Banks might be hesitant to lend money.
Yeah, with their track records.
Exactly. So issuing shares can seem like the easiest way to raise cash quickly.
So it's a short-term solution?
In a way, yes, but it's important to understand the potential downsides.
Like what?
Well, each time they issue new shares, they do it at a price that's often below the current market value.
So it drives the stock price down even further.
Exactly. It creates a bit of a vicious cycle.
Dilution leading to lower prices, leading to more dilution.
Right, and that can really erode investor confidence.
So it's a risky strategy.
Very risky. It might have kept them afloat so far.
Yeah.
But there are questions about its long-term sustainability.
Well, it's definitely something for potential investors to consider.
Absolutely. It highlights the importance of looking beyond the product or the technology and understanding the financial strategies of a company.
Right, and the risks involved.
Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive on Mullen Automotive.
We have.
From their business model and financial health to investor sentiment and the risks and opportunities they face.
And remember, this is just a starting point.
Yeah, do your own research, folks.
Absolutely.
Talk to a financial advisor
Always a good idea.
before making any decisions.
For sure.
If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more insightful analysis like this,
Make sure to subscribe.
to the Stock Analytics AI YouTube channel.
You'll find a ton of great content there.
And, as always, a quick disclaimer. The information we share today is based on publicly available sources and our own analysis. It is not financial advice.
And we don't endorse any specific investment strategy.
So do your own research, talk to a professional, and make informed decisions.
Thanks for joining us.
And happy investing.